Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the A Leveled Up Life podcast. My name is Branamier Courtney, along with Paul McLean. And this podcast is all about helping you level up your life in the areas that matter most: your faith, your family, your fitness, your finances, and your franchise. We're trying to help you close the gap from where you are to where you know you could and you should be. Today, man, we have a phenomenal topic. I'm excited to jump into this. We want to talk about creating habits that hold momentum. So many of us, we have these big goals, dreams, aspirations, resolutions to start the year. But how do we create those habits that help sustain the momentum to not just make them last for a month, but actually make them last for a long time?
Yeah.
That's the goal, right?
That's the goal, man. Hey, and by the way, if you haven't noticed, we got iPads out, baby. So
we're getting smarter every week.
I remember one person said, if you laminate something, that something just became important.
That's right.
And when you bring out a laptop, man, you know we got something to teach and say. And every week our desire is the same, man. We want to bring great value to you. It's an honor and privilege to have you guys join us every single week. And so today we've got some things that we want to, have a deep dive into that's going to make a difference for you guys as you, you're on this process of leveling up your life in these areas that matter most. In fact, if you have not grabbed a pen, a piece of paper, something to take notes on an iPad, man, grab it, because I promise you today, you're going to leave and say, okay, I got some practical things that if I put these in place, I can in fact see my life progress. I can in fact see my family level up, my faith, my finance, my franchise, my fitness. We're going to kind of dive into all these things. And so, man, this is a topic that it just matters so much. And it's an honor to host this topic with you, brother. And so let's get into it, man. The momentum part of it, I think it's kind of like a great example of showing momentum is like the NBA now.
Yeah.
Right? You're wearing the Lakers hat. Like NBA can shift in 1 second where you're like, dude, this team sucks. I've thought that. I'm watching a team, right? They're losing by like 30 points. You go on like a 27-0 run.
Yeah.
And you start thinking like, why does that team even play in the NBA? Like they're that bad. And then all of a sudden, right when you start thinking that way, it flips. And then they go on like a 8-0 run. And that team ends up winning. And you're thinking like, dude, I don't even know what to think now. And I think that's what momentum is. When you've got it, it makes you look better than you are.
That's right.
And when you don't got it, you look worse than you actually are.
Well, it's like one of those things. It's hard to get, but once you got it, then it's hard to stop.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what can we do that when you have the momentum, when things are going good, when you're on that roll, when you're making that comeback, when you're doing the right things, what do we put in place to keep that momentum going? Because it's like, man, once it's gone, it's hard to get back. I remember I was really getting big into fitness a couple years ago, and I was taking my boys to jiu-jitsu classes. I think Penelope was going, and we were kind of taking our kids there. And I remember just sitting in these classes over and over and over again. And eventually the instructors were like, dude, why don't you come take a class? And I was like, no, I'm good, man. I just want to watch. But eventually they got me and suckered me into taking a jiu-jitsu class. And I started, building momentum. I was going to class like 3-4 days a week. And they're like, hey, man, why don't you go to a tournament coming up? I think you'd crush it. It's more of like a beginner style tournament. And so I was really into it, man. My fitness, I was starting to eat better, starting to eat clean, because they're like, you got to lose like 20 pounds to get in this tournament. And so, dude, I was on a roll, man. I usually walk around like almost 200 pounds. Like, dude, you got to get to 178. So I was doing everything. I was fasting. I was juicing, working out. And I remember we went to spring break. Remember that?
Yeah.
Palm Springs, spring break.
I remember that. Hey, and by the way, dude, I also remember, for one, you did look good,
dude,
bro.
I look good, bro. I was
getting
lean.
You did. And he was learning how to fight. So
That's
like
right.
he could fight you in the spirit, man.
And in the natural, baby.
In the natural. And the funny thing is about that, dude, when we went, it was during COVID.
Yeah.
And like our boy was the one that kept the studio open. And we're like, dude, we got a bunch of kids. And I cannot live in this house without a break and these kids not doing something extracurricular. So that's when we found like, hey, let's put them in the MMA, because they were doing soccer. And the funny thing is, like, I remember making the same decision. Like, they had the family plan. I'm like, I'm about to sign my family up too. I'm going to go.
Right.
And I realized the hardest belt you could ever get is a white belt.
Yep.
And he said, no, it's a black belt. No, it's a white belt, because most don't start. And your boy, I never started. Right. I never started. And then I remember hearing Alex say, and all a black belt is a consistent white belt.
Yep.
And I was like, that's pretty deep, man. And we're going to tie into that too today.
Well, dude, let me say this. I'm a white belt with one stripe. Let's
go. There you go. Okay. Leveled up.
I leveled up, man. But anyways, we were in Palm Springs, I was in shape. My tournament was like 6 days away. I had all this momentum going into this tournament. I felt good. I was eating right. And then I took Brave, my 4-year-old, he's probably 2 at the time, took him down the slide. There was a little piece of plastic that was poking out on the slide and it cut my arm. And of course, I kept playing, kept getting in the water, chlorine, jacuzzi. 2 days later, man, I got that infection in my arm, sent me to the hospital for 4 days, had some sort of infection from the cut, from the blood. I didn't take care of it right, missed my tournament, right? And then all of a sudden, this month of momentum, these 6 months of momentum leading into this 1 week, I lost it in a moment. And then what I did was I kept telling myself, like, all right, I'm going to heal my arm. Then I'm going to get back into jiu-jitsu class. I'm going to get back in the gym. I'm going to start eating right again. And then the gap was so big between, like the hurt, the pain, and then getting back into class. And so I was like, oh, I'll do it Monday. I'll do it next week. And then next week, now here we are, almost a year and a half later, and I haven't been back to
everybody's
jiu-jitsu class.
Plan,
but it's like this momentum is here, everything is here, and then one little thing stops you, and it's like, dude, it's so hard to get it back, man. So,
well, the funny thing is, man, like, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not, but my wife, she, for a long time, she's like, I'm gonna start a diet. I was like, all right, babe. She's like, I'm gonna start on Monday. And usually that was like, if it was Sunday or Saturday, she's like, I'm gonna start it on Monday. And I was like, all right, Monday sounds good. And then once Monday came, and she didn't start it, then it was tomorrow. So I was like, I'm gonna start it tomorrow, and I'm gonna start it tomorrow. I'm gonna start it tomorrow.
Yep.
And by the way, a year would go by and it was always tomorrow or Monday. And it's so easy to do that because what it does is it makes us feel good in the temporary moment of like how we feel doing the thing that we know we shouldn't be doing, which is just sitting there engaging in the same habitual behavior that we know is keeping us at a lower level. But we got to get back to that, and it's tough, man. I think that one of the things that is easy to do, like when you're going after something, now we're into the first quarter of the year. And for a lot of you guys, you've had these New Year's resolutions of things that you wanted to accomplish. And it's easy though, once you kind of have a bad day, or maybe it's a bad couple days, to just say, screw it. Like, I'm just going to let it go. And sometimes it's unconscious, right? Like yours, Brand. And sometimes it's just like, maybe I'll just put it off a little bit longer, right? And it's almost like if you're driving down the road, this is how I think about it. If you're crossing a gap, right? You're where you're at right now and you're saying, man, my destination is there. Like, that's where I want to go. My destination for my family, fitness, franchise, business, income, all of it's there. On your way to that path, you got to know that you're going to get a popped tire. But if you popped your tire, like you're running over boom, it pops. Would you get out of your car and be like, oh my God, I got a popped tire? You take out a shank or blade or knife and you decide to go cut all 3 of your tires and say, screw it. No, man, you get out, you fix your tire, you keep moving forward.
But that's what we do.
Yeah.
Like, dude, one little thing happens and we just say, forget it. It's over. Let me stop doing this. Let me stop eating healthy again. What's the point?
Yep.
Let me stop saving. What's the point? Let me stop whatever it is. What's the point of it? And it's like, man, all those good seeds that we sowed for so long because we didn't see the harvest of it right away, or because we never, made it to the destination because one little hiccup happened.
Yep.
It's like, forget it, man. And then we're just stuck living this normal, mundane life, knowing that, man, there's bigger and better. There's more for us, but we just get caught. And it's like, we don't want that for you. We want you to get to the place where you could be. So how do we close that gap? Like, how do we lessen the risk, I would say? Because life happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, pop tires happen. Cuts on your arms happen. Like, life is crazy sometimes. So when those things do happen in your life, how do you not lose the momentum? How do you ensure yourself that, hey, this is not going to set me back, but it's actually going to be the thing that helps me propel forward and keeps the momentum going and doesn't just stop it all along? Like, how do we get to that point? How do we lessen the risk?
There's a couple big points that we should dive into. So probably about 3 that we'll cover. And Brian, why don't you take the first one on, like, what is the thing that holds you back? Because most people kind of have the same kind of desire. Like, you're living this life right now. And I know for myself, like, every Sunday, I spend some time reflecting, and I kind of go through what I call like roles and goals. And I'll look and say, okay, man, I'm a husband. So like related to that part of me, like, how am I doing? What does that look like? It's kind of like a checkup, because if I'm not aware of it, man, I don't know how to go. And so I'll say, all right, what's something I can implement and put in that's going to help me go to the next level. So I've got all these desires, but then too often, like you said, man, like I've got these things written down, but it's harder to execute than it is to write it down and know in your mind what you're looking for. So like, why is that such a thing? You know, and before I pass it, there's one thing I thought about, man, like as a source of encouragement, right? Like the Apostle Paul wrote most of the New Testament, you know, and in Romans, it talks about him saying like, man, I know I want to do good, but I continue to do what's bad.
Right.
I know what I want, but I don't do it. Like, what a wretched, like sinful man I am. And he goes into this and you're thinking when you read it, like, dude, this guy's jacked up.
Yeah.
And if you're like, I'm like, dude, that's kind of like I am, you know? And then as it progresses, it gets to a point where he's like speaking with this level of like maturity and wisdom of like, you know, I've experienced like the feast and the famine and the hunger and to want all these things, but I found contentment. And then he kind of dives into it
through Christ.
Yeah. So how do you go from there to there? And what we're going to talk about is that what we believe is what took place from that man that's saying those things to the leveled up man that's saying different things. So what's like the first one that kind of keeps us from winning?
Yeah, I was thinking the first one is this. Focus. Too many of us, we focus on the what instead of focusing on the how. For example, we all have New Year's resolutions, right? We all have dreams, goals, things that we want to accomplish. And a lot of us are more similar than we even think. So like most of us, we want to be healthier physically. Most of us want to save more money and make more money. Most of us want a better marriage, a better relationship, a better whatever it is. We all have similar goals. And what we do is we focus on the big picture. Like, man, I really want that thing. And then because it seems so far off, we don't do anything, any action steps to actually get there because it seems like, well, it's too hard, it's too much, the gap is too big, how do I even start? And so most people focus on the what instead of the how, right? And so instead of focusing on that, focus on how I could actually get there. What's the daily disciplines? What's the habits? What's the structure? What's the systems that I can create in my life that help me get there? So focus on the how do I actually do it? For example, a couple of years ago when we started the church, man, I had this dream in my heart that we were going to reach the city. Like I had the vision for it. I had what I felt like was a word from God. Like, hey, I had been released from my leaders in my ministry role. Like God had given the vision. God had given me like the dream to actually go do it. Man, we're going to reach the city. We're going to, by the power of the Holy Spirit, like bring so many of our friends and family into a building, into a church where they just feel loved and connected and cared for. And we're going to have an amazing online presence and social media, all these just big dreams, big vision. Yeah. But it was just that until I actually put action steps behind them. And so instead of just saying like, I got this big goal, instead of just saying I have this big dream, it's like, let's focus on not the what, but the how. How do we actually make these things come to pass? And now 2.5 years later, we're sitting in answered prayers because we put action steps behind the what and we focus on the how. So for example, I started sharing with people like about the dream, the vision, the goal, the church that I had in mind. We started meeting on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Remember those days? Yeah. We started meeting with people. We started putting, different ministries in place. We started creating systems and habits. We started raising money. We started, printing flyers. We started doing all the how to get to the what. And so I think for a lot of people, start putting real system structures. Think about how I can get to this. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Yep. Like my dad used to always tell me, because he owns a cleaning business, we would bid on these very, very large accounts and we would do these walkthroughs with like a bunch of other businesses. And he would go, hey, listen, everyone's walking around looking at this 100,000 square foot building. But Branamier, you want to know how you clean this building? I'm like, how? Because it seems overwhelming. He goes, one toilet at a time. It's the same thing with your goals, man. If you think about like, man, my goal is to have this huge thing. It's like, dude, this seems overwhelming. This is crazy. It's so far out of reach. Well, how do you get there? One prayer at a time, one discipline at a time, one thank you at a time, one just like good seed at a time. And then over that time, you'll look back and you'll begin to reap the harvest of all the good seeds that you sowed, man. So I don't know. What do you think that is kind of reasons that people don't succeed or keep the momentum in chasing after their dreams? Yeah,
well, dude, for one, that's a big point, because you're 100% right. Like everybody has these similar goals that they want to go after, but it's that how,
Yeah.
So today it's like, hey, can you focus on like the how behind it? Like, you know what it is, and keep the what in front of you, because the what
Absolutely.
motivates you,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like the what's going to the what's kind of like the why. Like, I'm motivated to pay the price, because the how kind of can suck, right? Like
Yeah.
you gotta do stuff, right? And you got to get uncomfortable to do those things. And life begins at the end of your comfort zone.
That's
And God
good.
shows up typically to go to work on your behalf, to show it's his strength and it's his hand on the other side of you getting uncomfortable. Most, the passive Christians sit back and say, if it's up to him, it'll happen. It's like, no, he wants you to do something.
That's right.
Like, you're giving a bad representation. God's looking down and saying, like, I don't want you to connect my name to what you got going on. Like, that ain't my intention. And I think that the other big thing, especially in today's world, man, think about it. It's like a instant gratification, man. There's so much dopamine getting flooded at even a child's level. You know what I mean? Like the kids watching the iPads and these different things, and then it becomes just easy, because as parents we're like, well, they're not bugging us. They're being good. It's like, yeah, but like they're getting this unordinate amount of dopamine that now it's like, to work for something, to build patience, to wait for something to show up that you actually desire, to be patient to see that next level come to fruition. Because patience is really like, it's an attitude that you keep while you're waiting for the result to come.
That's good.
It's not just like, let me just be patient and like, no, patience is what attitude are you keeping while you're going through the process, but yet you don't see the progress or the evidence that it's going to happen. Are you still optimistic? Are you still thinking big? Are you still looking through a filter of faith? That's patience. And so I think point two is like, people just they don't see progress fast enough. So if I don't see progress fast enough, man, is it really worth it? So now you're tying the pain to no payoff, and the disparity between, man, I paid for something. I had to sacrifice something, whether that's time, energy, money, effort, emotion, resources, and you don't see the payoff. Well, now you've got this kind of disappointment sets in. You're like, is it really worth it? And I think that gives people kind of two conclusions. One is, what I'm doing right now, does it really matter that much? That little quick 10-minute workout, that 30-minute workout, doesn't matter that much, because after a week or two, I still lift up my shirt, and there ain't no six pack. Like, so does it really matter that much? Or I read a scripture, but man, I still have these thoughts. I still kind of feel this way about myself, and I'm starting to read it, but I still feel this way. Or that could be your finances. Man, I started to pay myself first. I finally this year decided, like, this is the year where I'm not going to be, flat broke. I'm going to start disciplines and habits to get out of that. But after 4 or 5 months, you've been saving, maybe $100 a month. You're like, dude, I got $600.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
But reality is this: that's the lie, that if you buy it, it'll keep you at your lower level. The truth is that your life is a sum total of all these small little choices done over a long period of time, and the compound effect will go to work in your life on your behalf. But you got to realize that those small, wise decisions, they do matter. The great lie that causes people to fail on their pursuit to level up is that these small, little wise decisions, they really don't matter all that much. That's a lie. The second thing is that these small, unwise decisions don't matter that much, because they do. And then that's where the compromise kind of sets in. And Brian, to the story that you were talking about getting hurt, and then, well, it started just like a little compromise.
Right.
And then you've got some justifiable reason to say, like, well, it's because, dude, and I remember you came and preached that Sunday. And
Yeah.
dude, you're white as a ghost,
I
man.
know.
Like, yeah, I was like, he's gonna pass out, and I'm gonna have to get up there and catch him or something. But dude, and then you got the bad thing is when you got an excuse that looks like it's good enough for you to buy it and feel good about yourself.
That's good.
Then it's so much easier to go into that compromise, and all of a sudden you're slowly going down and going down and going down. And before you know it, you look up, you're like, man, I was trying to go there. How did I end up here? I was trying to fly from California to New York. How did I end up in Wisconsin? Well, it was a little bit off over a long time. In the
Gets you in
beginning,
the wrong direction.
yeah, like if I'm flying from here to Vegas, I could be 1 degree off and land pretty close to Vegas. 1 degree off, I might be shooting for New York, man. I end up in Florida.
That's right.
It's just a distance that takes place, the time that happens. And so I think that's a big, big thing is to understand that they all matter quite a bit, right? And they're all working together. And it's just like boiling water, right? Like it has that tipping point where it looks the same. And I don't remember the degrees, but there's a degree that it shifts. Michael, do you know the degree?
211 between 211 and 212.
Okay, is it?
Water begins to boil.
All right,
Yep.
so at
I think. Look it up.
all right,
Put it in the comments.
Yeah, 210. We'll go 210. It looks the same, but it looks the same. So you got the heat on. You're doing something, man. You're heating up. You're heating up. You're heating up. But you're like, dude, there's no change in the water. In that 1 degree, dude, now that changes everything. Now you got boiling water. And that boiling water, man, it has a significantly different effect on anything that goes into it than it did prior, right? And what you also got to realize is too, like, that boiling water, it happens in that tipping point, and then everybody's looking at you like, like, man, they just look at them. They just kind of had it. They just had it. They had the thing.
Overnight success.
Yes, they had the thing that I ain't got.
Yep.
What they don't realize is, man, all the late nights, early morning, all the doubt where they didn't believe that they could really do it, but they pushed through the doubt, all the fear, right? And I remember that as I was in the insurance industry, and man, I kind of got to a high level of selling pretty quick. At 20, I was a top 10 producer nationwide in selling life insurance and financial services, and people be like, "Oh, he just got it," but they don't realize that, dude. I was working 100 hours a week. I'd leave and drive to Bakersfield at 5 a.m. And before Bakersfield, I would be driving to Stanislaus, like Modesto. And so I'd leave at 4 a.m., 4:30 to get to my first appointment. And then I was just trying to build my income. So I was putting it all back in the business. I was living my same lifestyle. I was getting staff. I was like, I'm putting it all back in. And I'd get back home at like 4 a.m., right? And on that way there, most people are like, dude, you're crazy. Like, why do you do that? But what they don't realize is that on my way back home at like 12 o'clock at night, I had nobody to call. So what was I doing? I had already spent so many hours doing the craft that I was trying to get great at, building skill. And most people are a level away because of a bad habit, a bad thought process, and lacking skill. So I was building that skill. And on the way home, I had all that time to listen to experts in that craft, objection handling, what to say, what not to say, the psychology of it, that it was like a compound effect in my mind as far as building the right, myelin and neuroplasticity, because it was both at the same time. But from everybody else, like, oh, it was just overnight. No, man, it's those little things done over and over again. So it's a big deal.
That's really good.
So, Brandon, what do you think number 3 would be?
Well, just to touch on what you're saying, let me just encourage some people out there, because there's a scripture that goes with this, Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary while doing good, for in due season you will reap a harvest. Like, that's a promise. That's a principle from God. Like, hey, whatever area of your life you're trying to get better in, let me just encourage you. Don't give up. Keep going. Keep planting good seeds, because in due time, you will reap a harvest. You may be trying to level up your relationship and get closer together with your wife or with your husband. And the fruit of the seeds they've been planting, you don't see them yet, but in due time, right? You might be trying to, like what you said, get a 6-pack. You don't see it yet, but in due time, you might be trying to save money. It's not looking good in the bank account, but in due time, you will reap a harvest. So be encouraged. I love everything that you said, man. It's like, it's so cool because we're men of faith. And so all these success principles, and they all tie back into the word of God, man. Like, God is so clear. Like, just keep doing the right things over and over and over. And just because you don't see the result or the fruit of it yet,
it's coming.
You do it long enough, it's coming, man. But the same is true in the opposite.
Yeah.
It's like you keep planting these seeds of doubt, seeds of fear, seeds of insecurity. It's like, dude, this is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like last week we talked about is creating these strongholds that you got to tear down over time and then replace it with the truth. So I love everything you said, man. It's good. The other reason I think people really don't succeed or keep the momentum is because of this. They have a distorted identity about who they are. Yep. And that distorted identity then sabotages their success. It's like, man, they take what they see maybe in the mirror, or they take what they hear online and they don't like it. But then they begin to believe the lie of the enemy. They begin to believe the lie of their past mistakes, their past failures, their past dumb decisions. And then they begin to identify themselves with those things that are not of God, that are not pleasing, that are not moving them forward. And then that whole identity about who they are sabotages their whole success.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, I think, just not to get too preachy, but You think of all these different characters in the Bible, like Moses, man, he struggled with his identity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was born an Israelite, but he was raised by the Egyptians. And so his whole life he battled back and forth. So what do? He ran away from the whole situation. He made a mistake. I'm getting out of here. And then what happens? He has this encounter with God, this burning bush moment where God then has to remind him of who he is, that God has to say, hey, you are going to be the man that frees my people, and I am with you. Like, so he has to restore his identity, but he's not the only one. Like all these different characters, you know, you got Peter who denied Jesus. You have Jacob who wrestled with God. You have Matthew who was a tax collector. You have all these different people, all these different characters throughout scripture that wrestled with their identity. And if you have the wrong identity, man, you really can't step into the thing that God has for you, because you see yourself one way, even though God says you're this, you don't really believe it like deep down inside, because the evidence proves otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, hey, we don't get our identity based on the things that we've done. We get our identity based on whose we are. And I think that most people, they just got to remind themselves, like, man, we all fall short. We all make mistakes. No matter what you see on the outside, no matter what Instagram tells you, no matter what, you know, everyone else's life around you may look like, we're all jacked up.
That's right.
We all got problems. We all got mistakes. But when you know who you are, when you have your identity rooted in who God says we are, man, then we can overcome the mistakes. Like, I'm not my mistakes. I'm not my failures. I'm not my dumb decisions. I am a child of God. I am an overcomer. I am more than enough. I have what it takes. And so when we could root our identity in that, then that propels us to succeed rather than sabotages our chances at success. And so I don't know, man, there's just like, I've heard you say it like this before. Like, we got to focus on who we need to become, not just what we need to become. So it's almost like these who goals, not do goals. Like, talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, dude, for one, I mean, that's the truth. You know what I mean? And like, you think about, like, I mean, there's a lot of concepts and people that have gone through and seen success, and maybe they don't have that great faith, right? But when you look at the word and you can get the principles and concepts, and then you know the concepts because you've lived them or you've heard them, and then you tie them to the word, man, that's like the great activator. That's right. Because it's the absolute truth, and it just hits different. You know what I mean? Because we're created in that image. And so, man, I absolutely love that. And I think it's like, this is how I'd put it. Like, when you know who you are, you'll know what to do. So if you're clear about who you are, then it's like, okay, if I'm a disciplined person, I do disciplined things. If I'm a faithful person, I do faithful things. If I'm a person that values fitness, I do things of fitness. Like, I am that kind of person. See, I think that's the big deal. If you know who you are, you'll know what to do. And see, a healthy identity will create healthy habits, and healthy habits create a healthy identity.
That's good.
And bad identity, a negative identity that the enemy will get you to believe, because that's what it is. Like, when you just start thinking, like, because I've failed, therefore I'm a failure. No, man, like, that ain't the truth. But if we get caught up in our own self long enough and we don't get to consume good stuff, like even like a podcast like this, good content, get around people that can kind of say, hey, man, no. Like, that ain't the truth, right? Then all of a sudden we start to believe a lie. And if you believe a lie long enough, it'll affect you as if it is true. And so, what identity do you have?
For one, I want to get into some practical strategies for you guys on how to develop values and a mission statement, even for your family. So if you're on here and you're like, man, I ain't leading an organization. Well, for one, you're leading somebody, right?
Yeah.
Leadership is influence. And I believe that everything rises and falls on leadership, but I believe that leadership rises and falls on values. And so you've got to have these values, and we're going to give you some practical things, but I want to talk about how important it is to start with, because you did it immediately, Bran. Like, why was it so important to start, like, almost the first series on the vision and values?
Well, it's the foundation, right? It's like, who are we? What do we stand for? What do we believe? Because if you don't have like a foundation and you're trying to build something great, well, as soon as some sort of trial or storm or wind blows your way, it's going to knock down whatever you're trying to build. And so whether it's, a family unit, whether it's a church, whether it's a sales team, whatever it is, man, you got to have something to stand on. Because let me tell you, like, it's not easy to build them, right? It's not like everyone thinks that, they want to be an entrepreneur or they want to build a business or whatever it is. But if you're not standing, if you're not building on something solid, that thing's going to blow over because life happens. You don't know what the economy is going to look like next year. You don't know who's going to be in charge of there's all kinds of just different factors. So you got to, from the very beginning, go, all right, this is who we are, no matter what happens. Yeah. This is what we stand for, no matter what the economy looks like. This is what we believe in, despite of anything else. And it's not like an original thought that I had, right? It's like I looked at, and this could be a tip for some of you guys. It's like, you don't have to create the wheel. Mm-hmm. Like there's whatever you're trying to build, it's probably been built before. Yeah. And so for me in the very beginning, it was a weird landscape, like going in, it was kind of like coming out of COVID, kind of in COVID a little bit. And I was like, man, there's two different types of organizations that I see. There's two different type of churches, ones that are just booming and ones that are dying. Yep. And I was like, well, let me study the ones that are booming. Let me not pay too much attention to the ones that are dying, right? And so I just began to look at like, man, what are all the commonalities of these organizations that are just reaching people for God, who are attracting the next generation of people who are going to build the church. And so I began to just study and look at just different churches who I kind of had not only admired but like inspired to be like, and said, and they had values, they had things they stood for, but it wasn't just like posters on the wall. It was like things that they actually lived out. And so for us, man, we just began to study all these different organizations, picked all the ones that we thought like, man, I relate to that. I like that. I like the way that sounds. Yeah. And then we put our personality on it, and then knew that it was something that we had to do from the very, very beginning. And so like for us, it's simple. Like Jesus is our message, right? People are our heart. Generosity is our privilege. Excellence is our spirit. Servant leadership is our identity. Honor is our calling. Passion is our pursuit. So those are like our 7 values. So everything that we do as an organization, we filter them through those values. So it's like, man, do we want to go be a part of that event taking place at the park that's ran by the city? Well, maybe. Let's run it through the values. Yeah. It's like, if we go out there, is like the message of kind of that, like Jesus? Well, no, it's really not. Well, it might not be bad, but it might not just be for us. Sure. That makes sense. So I just knew from the very beginning, man, we had to lay some foundational like principles, values, mission, vision for the church. And that way it just helps us kind of move forward. Yeah. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, looking at you and Mariah as a church was built, what was attractive was not having values on a wall, but values on a heart that were actually being lived out. And I think that nowadays, man, it's so, because people kind of know like, man, I need some values if you're running a company. Yeah. Man, you kind of Google like, what's the best value? And they're not even like what do I want to see in my organization, on my team? Because that's the first step in creating values, is like, what's my behavioral expectation? Yeah. That's what a value is, right? Because now it's like, this is what I expect. Does what you just did, does it go against the value or does it exemplify the value? Right. And I think that the most confusing thing is having a team, an organization, a family, or whatever that looks like, with values that are stated but not lived. Right. That's good. Yeah. And that's just no different than, and it's so easy to talk the talk, but it's so difficult to walk the walk. Right. Mm-hmm. It's like, how many times have we caught ourselves like, telling our kids like, don't yell. And we're like yelling at them. Right. They're like, wait,
confused.
Yeah. They're confused. Like, well, I'm screaming at you to stop yelling. And like, we don't yell in this house, but I'm yelling. Right. And I mean, there's so many different ways that shows up. I think that it's good to see those and know those values. And I believe it's got to be repeatedly like meditated on, rehearsed, and on the forefront of your mind. Yeah. Like, my belief is that if I went to the leadership team at the church and I said, hey, bro, what's the values? Right. They know them. Yeah. And that's the question for you. If you're running a business, like, do they know them? Now, if they don't, that's okay. I remember after we developed the values, man, decades ago with the financial services company, that I got to a point where I just kind of paused, and it was in one of my mid-year reflections, and I'm like, does everybody really know the values? And so I took responsibility. I'm like, hey, listen, this is on me. And we did kind of a relaunch, and then every week we would talk about the value, one of them, and I would find somebody on the team that exemplified it, and I would highlight it, because what you magnify will multiply. So I'm trying to magnify what I want more of. Right. I want to celebrate what I want more of, right? And so we started to talk about it, and then I even use that as a standard if it was going to be a one-on-one conversation where something I was like, man, that person's not living the value. It was easy because everything went back to the value.
100%.
So I would do the public celebration, but in private, it'd be like, hey man, like, you showing up late. Like, dude, look, I love you, bro. I mean, you're a great asset. But when you show up late, the issue with that is it violates all of our values. So our values were teamwork, integrity, personal growth, efficiency, and relentlessness.
It's good.
And then we had a sentence to describe each one. And I'll kind of, when we wrap up, we'll unpack some of these things. So that way, you might listen and say, hey, that's a good one. Because for me, I was like, what's good? And I did what you did, Brand. Like, let me go to organizations in different places where I believe that their behavior is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You go to Ritz-Carlton, dude, their behavior is phenomenal. And like, let me see what their values are, because there's something different up in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 100%. Like, I don't want to, if an organization, I don't feel good or they don't make me feel like, I don't care what their values are because they're not living them.
Right. Yep.
They just probably sound good.
Yep.
Right. And so I think for me, dude, like I remember watching it talked about and then walked out within the church. And I think for how I see it is it comes from the top down, and it's almost like you're creating the DNA of that organization that's going to be passed on from each person that walks in and becomes a part of it. It's almost like you're knitting a blanket, and the first pattern you knit is going to be replicated.
Yeah.
And like, do you want that to be replicated?
Right.
Because if you don't, it's not going to look good. And then the performance, you might get some high performing people, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of like, well, where results look good, but if there's no foundation to values, like you said, when a storm comes, and that could be a successful storm,
right?
Like the success is so good it messes them up because now they develop haughtiness, pride, ego, or some other kind of emotional dysfunction that tears them down.
Yep.
Or it could just be all of a sudden the character shows up, and the performance all of a sudden starts to wane, because what's crucified when you've got bad performance and not core values is culture.
Yeah.
And then the culture is dying, and now you've got no growth.
Yep. Well, the culture is like simply the behavior of the people.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like if something has a good culture, anything like a good restaurant, well, it's the behavior of the people, good or bad, right? And so for me, how I think about it is every organization, team, family has a language. And if you're all speaking a different language, it's hard to understand, right? So I do this exercise at church and with our leadership, and I go, all right, on the count of 3, I want everyone to yell their favorite color as loud as they can. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and everyone yells it, and no one can understand. It's like 40 people,
right?
And so I'm like, hold on, I didn't catch that. Like, do it again. 1, 2, 3. Everyone yell your favorite color. Ready? Go. They do it again. I'm like, I heard it, but I didn't understand it, right? Because everyone speaking a different language at an amplified volume doesn't have any impact at all.
That's good.
And then I'll say, all right, everyone, I want you guys, what's the most obscure color anyone could think of? And they're like, mauve or something like,
right.
And I'm like, all right, on the count of 3, everyone whisper mauve. And they're like, 1, 2, 3, mauve. And everyone could hear it and understand it. It's because it's not about volume, it's about clarity, right? So if you're all speaking the same language, man, we don't have to shout it. We're all on the same page. And that's what values do. That's what a mission statement does. That's what a vision does. It's like, man, let's get everyone speaking the same language. And that way, when you come in and someone who doesn't speak that language, but wants to be a part of it goes, I better learn this language.
Right.
I better adapt. It's like any country you go to, like we don't go to other countries and go, hey, you guys better start learning English because I'm here. It's like, dude, you better adapt or you're not going to fit in. So it's like your family has a language, and you're going to do it by either design or default, right? You have a language that you speak. And so for us, like, let's just be intentional about the language. Let's set it from the very beginning, like, hey, this is who we are. This is how we talk. This is what we value. That way, anyone comes in, they're adapting to the values, the principles, the vision, as opposed to the other way around. Or you get a strong personality type You get a dominant leader, you get someone who has some experience. They come in and they can start to find, the flaws and the faults and things. And then before you know it, you got a kingdom within a kingdom.
Right.
You got someone else trying to build something. It's like, no, dude, we don't do that around here. Why? Not because of me. It's not because King Branamier or King Paul. No. It's like, this is the values of who we are. This is so if we're there or not, if we're leading it or not, the foundation is laid. And so I just knew that was important from the very beginning to get everyone on the same page. And this could be further. I see it with you guys all the time, like your family, right? It's like I go over to your house, you got the family mission statement on the fridge, and it's good because it takes the blame off of you when you discipline. It's like, hey, son, what's the values of our family? It's like boom, 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 boom. It's right here. So like, don't get mad at dad. This is what we all agreed to. This is who we are. This is the language that we speak. This is what we stand for. You're in violation of our values. Let's fix that. Let's get back to who we are called to be. So man,
that's great, dude.
It's important. There's this one scripture. I think it's in Ephesians, and Paul's talking to the church, and he basically says, live a life worthy of the calling that's on your life. And so for me, it's like, man, how do I live that life that's worthy of the call that's on? Because everyone has a calling on their life. Like everyone has a purpose. Everyone has something that they're here to do, whether you know it or not, believe it or not. Like, you're not a mistake. You're here for a reason. And so am I living the life that's worthy of that calling? And I think number one, that starts with understanding who I am and what I'm called to do. It's like, I mean, what do I stand for? And when you're not living the life worthy, because your values, your vision, your mission is all about you.
Right.
It's all about self-serving as opposed to like helping others. So
I think it keeps you on track, man.
100%.
Like
it's good.
It's like if it's either done by design or by default.
Yep.
And anything that's done by default, it's not going to sound or it's not going to look good. But by design, we can build a life that looks intentional.
Yeah.
A life that matters and it's significant. A life that's not based off of feelings, right? It's kind of like language based off of default. Right. Man, it could have some cussing.
Yeah.
It could be, complaining. It could be blaming. It could be gossiping, because it's language by default. It's like, how do I feel? Well, I kind of feel insecure because that person's better, so I'm going to gossip about that and this and this. It's ugly language, right? Yep. But by design, you can say like, no, what, like you said, who am I called to be?
Right.
And so therefore, let me look at my behavior. My behavior is going to be predicated on these values. And so what do I value? I value honor, man. I value celebrating others. I value speaking life over others. Okay, so then I can't be swaying or pulled into what I feel, which is by default. I got to step in and continue to act, behave, think, and feel based off of design. Really? And I just think that that's an important thing. And man, one of the first times, Brian, I saw this that really hit me, and I was like, man, like, I got it. I see the significance of this. As I went down to the Dream Center, and I was walking through the halls, and this guy came by, and he was like, "Hey, Pastor Matthew, I just want to say, man, I love you, and it's so good to be here." And the guy, he had like the teardrop tattoos on his face, man, like he was tatted up, and he looked rough, you know what I mean? And I was like, dude, what's his story? And he said he was just off the streets like 2 weeks ago. He's selling meth and doing drugs and all into kinds of different, like, he had prostitute, all these different things that he was doing. I'm like, how does that happen? How does he have that language? How does he have that behavior? He said, well, on the streets, it's weird if you were to say, "Hey, I love you, man." People are like, dude, what are you trying to get after? What are you trying to take from me? What do you do? He's like, that would be weird. And so on the streets, to fit in, you got to be hard. You got to harden your heart. You got to have a certain behavior to survive and to just fit in on the streets. So, but here, when people walk through the doors, they feel like the outcast if they're not the one that says, "Hey, I love you, man."
Yeah.
He's like, so pretty quick they start to conform, realize that, man, if I don't want to be obscure, if I don't want to be an outlier, if I don't want to be the outcast, this is what it looks like here.
Yep.
And so he said pretty quick, it didn't take very long for them to start to conform into our culture here.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, what a powerful example of culture.
Very good.
To get somebody that has been walking with these values to shift their language and start to walk differently. It was pretty crazy to see.
It is. It's it's the power of language. It's the power of having like core values, core principles. It's the power of knowing who you are.
Yeah.
Right. It's like when you walk it. If he would have walked in there and like, you know, his leadership would have been like, you know, hey man, just keep doing you, and over time we'll figure this thing out. Like, and just let him behave that same way. Well, then he may or may not have got the help he needed, or could have just delayed the process.
Yeah.
But from the very beginning, the standard was set, right? It's like, hey, if you want help, if you want treatment, like this is how we behave in here.
Yeah.
And you see the exact opposite. Like you go to, I mean, I've never been in prison, but I've toured a couple of them, right? But you go into a prison and it's like fight or flight. They tell you the exact opposite. Like, hey, if you want to survive in here, you lose all the pretty boy stuff. You lose the love you bro stuff, and you fight. You adapt to the negative culture to survive.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just shows, and I'm sure your family or your organization doesn't want to be like a prison, right? So let's not conform in a bad way. Let's conform in the best way possible, to push us and help guide us into the person, the family, the team, the church that we're called to be. You know, so it's so important. So I wrote these down, Paul, and it's kind of what you're talking about. Here's what I said: what 5 things that a vision statement, a value statement, what it accomplishes. Number 1, clarity of purpose.
Yeah,
like this is who we are. This is what we stand for. Is what we believe. Number 2, it helps alignment and unity of the people. So it's like, hey, we're all united and we're aligned. It's like the language that we're talking about. Number 3, it's accountability, what you just said. So it's keeping us accountable to not just our feelings, not just like our actions, but it's keeping us accountable to the vision and mission that we're going after. Number 3, it helps with resilience, right? So in challenging times, it's something that we can fall back on. And number 5, it helps with legacy and impact. And so when we're long gone, if the values or the vision or the mission has been established, man, it's a legacy that's going to be there forever. So it's not even about you at this point. It's just like, hey, this is, and you see this like with family units, right? It's like, man, great grandpa set this, like this is the standard of our family.
Yeah.
And you don't fall short of this. So it's weird if you're the outlier, if it's weird if you mess it up, right? So like you see these established legacy type families, like that's what you aspire to be. And it's not that they were special, but just, like the standard was set so high, like this is who we are. And it could be like as a family, like we value having real estate. Like we value whatever it, like it could be the most obscure thing, but it's like the value was set, right? So for someone listening, it's like, hey, what do you value? Who do you value as a team, as an organization, as a family? And then make it plain, write it down, and not just for a poster on the wall, but so it's a reminder that every day you're to live out that value. And I think that's what you're talking about earlier. Like with your team, you would have someone lead like every week in the sales meetings or the whatever it is, the wrap up meetings. Like you would start by saying, hey, reminder guys, this is one of our values. This is why it's important. And we
start with good news.
We do the same thing at church, right? Every Sunday morning before the actual service, like our team gets together, prays, does updates, but then someone always leads out with the value because it's a reminder, hey, Jesus is our message. So I don't care if you're holding a sign, cleaning the bathrooms, or preaching the message. Like what you're doing, the message of that action should be Jesus, right? People are a heart. So like it's a reminder, hey, there's gonna be some messed up people that walk in here, and your flesh is gonna want to judge them. Your flesh is gonna want to like have some certain thoughts about them. But like if I could remind you that people are a heart, you see them in a whole new lens, right? So I think it's just good to have them not only on the wall, but like you got to say them because you'll forget about them. You know, and then you'll start living according to how you feel.
Well, then you get your leadership too to like buy in and say like, this is not just the leaders, right? The person that's running the organization. This is just not their values. Like this is our values. Like this is who we are. Like I'm a part of this. It's not like, you know, I'm not in the business or in the organization. Man, the business is in me. It's a part of my DNA. It's running through my blood. It's who I am, and it's what I exemplify. And I think that's such an important thing. You know, and I even see this when you do the team nights, right? Like you'll celebrate and bring people up and recognize them, not just for performance as far as like this person did X, Y, Z, but a lot of it's behavioral performance. Like they were a great reflection of who we are and what we're called to be and what our DNA is. And I think that's important. Like to not just recognize within your team or business organization, just the person that went out there and, he sold 10 cars or 10 deals or whatever that might be, and he was a leader there. But was there somebody that also progressed and exemplified a next level leadership within the values, right? Was their behavior top notch, right? Because I think that it's both. You got to have attitude and activity. And when you find someone that's exemplifying both, they're going the extra mile and they're embodying the behavioral expectations. Like, man, that's a beautiful thing. But I think it's good to celebrate both of those and do it frequently. One of the things that made a big difference, Brand, for me, was realizing that most teams are similar as far as how to create a healthy team that's going to thrive, grow, and create greatness, create big things. And my family's a team, and so like we'll do a family meeting, and we run it kind of similar. Like, we'll talk about the family values, and when we sat down, myself and my wife were like, "What do we want to value as a family?" It's like, well, we want our behavior for our kids to be pretty simple. They need to honor Jesus, they need to honor us, honor parents, and honor others.
Yeah.
And so it needed to be simple, it needed to be plain. For one, it's our kids. Right. So it's like we don't want to have like these long, like these long words that are like great to look at. Yeah. But no, I was like, no, it's simple. We want to. So does your behavior, did that honor Jesus? Did that behavior honor us?
Right.
Did that behavior honor somebody else? So if we have the cousins over, it's like, did you honor him?
Right.
Well, no, but that's another. That's somebody else. Did you honor that person? And then if they didn't, we would address it. And one of the consequences that we would have, depending on the age, we'd be like, all right, go write the family values 10 times. So they'd have to write it. Honored family. So it's just
give them a little Bart Simpson action.
Yeah, it's getting them in their mind. You know what I mean? And then the mission statement, the same thing. When we came up with it, we sat around and we're like, okay, what's important for us, right? And this is going back to like before we even had some of the kids. This Peyton was like 10. I think it was just Peyton and Parker. And Peyton came up with a lot of them. And it was, our family believes in living an intentional life. That was one of our first things. Like, we're not going to live a life based off of default.
Yeah.
It's going to be based off of intention. Our family believes in living an intentional life. To have a servant's heart. No, it's gosh, you think I know it. Our family believes in living an intentional life, to have an attitude of gratitude and positivity. And so like, that's what we're going after. No matter what circumstances or situations take place in life, is our attitude still grateful?
Yeah.
Is it still positive? And then the next part of it is to have a servant's heart that's completely full of love, to be Christ-like. And so those are the part. And then to be persistent in our pursuit, to be independent and interdependent in our society.
That's good.
And so that was our mission. And so we have the cards all printed out. They stick them in their backpacks. They got them on their nightstand. The older ones, they all know it by heart. If you ask them what it is, they can tell you what the mission statement is. Same thing. If there's something that doesn't line up with it, we'll address it and we'll say, okay, hey, listen, what you just did, that wasn't a positive attitude.
Right.
So go write the mission statement, and they'll write it down, and they'll explain. We'll have them highlight and give detail on whatever area that they messed up on.
Right.
Because like, this is our mission as a family, and we do it at the dinner table once a week. We get together, we highlight, what's going good. We always start with good news, and then we open it up. Like, is there anything you guys want to share and talk about? Because we're a family. So like, we don't judge each other. We love each other. Is there something that is going on that needs to be addressed? Because we want to know here before it goes anywhere else. Like, what's going on?
That's good.
And it's just trying to create that culture of like, hey, we're all in this together. We're all, going to fall short and mess these up. But this is our gold standard. This is what we're going after. This is who we are, and this is what we want our life to exemplify. And it's been a big deal.
I think for most people, they hear something like that, and it could get like overwhelming. Like, well, dude, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to. I mean, you don't know my kids, Paul. Like, that your kids have those things memorized. Like, my kids are trying to, memorize the ABCs still. Like, what are we doing? I think for anyone that's thinking about, like, that's hearing this and going, man, you know what? I need this a mission or vision or value statement as a family, right? Because I think it starts at home.
Yeah.
I think it's simpler than you might think, right? It's all age appropriate. So for you, just sit down with your family and go, hey, what do we value? Like, what do we like to do? What do we stand for? And I think more people would be surprised that your kids have something to offer. Like, and maybe for you, it doesn't have to be extremely like you don't have to overthink it. Like, hey, we value having fun. Like we value working hard. We value being generous to people. We value God's word. Like what do you value? Start there.
Yeah.
Allow your kids to throw out some words, and then you as parents could kind of craft those into a short, simple statement. And that could be the kind of the foundation of you building and it changes. It could change over time. Like maybe as the kids get older, you no longer value um, I don't know whatever it was at the time. Like we value family vacations, right?
Right.
And so now everyone's out. So like, that's not really a value of ours anymore. Well, you could change it. Like now we value spending quality time together at holidays, whatever it is, right? So values can adjust as seasons change, but I think it's so important to kind of establish, hey, this is who we are, and kind of always have that as a foundation because I think you're right, man. Like before the world tells you who you are, or before things get out to friends and classmates and everyone else, it's like, hey, let's start at home. Let's
Yeah.
let's figure this out at home, and then that way we can live out who we're called to be.
Yeah.
You know.